Does Thorn suck? Thorn. Ooh, Thorn. Thorn is probably one of the most hated guns and most powerful guns in Destiny PvP, at least historically. It's also my favorite gun, but boy has it fallen from where it was in year one. Not to say that the nerfs it has gotten are unwarranted, but it is a little too weak now in my opinion, at least after the most recent nerf it has gotten, where Bungie basically nerfed the range into nothingness, at least in terms of how the gun was. It's definitely not as low range as the last word, but it's pretty low range for the rate of fire that it has. In my opinion, it was completely fine before this most recent nerf, though. That being said, the gun definitely isn't bad. It is in the last word archetype of hand cannons. It is in the fastest rate of fire archetype. It obviously doesn't have the fan fire of the last word, but if you use it at its effective range, it definitely isn't bad. The gun works, and it kills things with one headshot and 2 body shots with burn. That's basically the fastest time to kill you can attain. Also with 2 headshots and 1 body shot, that works as well, or 3 headshots. The fastest time to kill is 3 shots, basically, no matter what. Now, if you use it out of its ideal range, it's a really solid assist machine. It's definitely not a weapon that can compete with something like the Palindrome at the Palindrome's max range due to the archetype differences. But within its own range cap, it is basically the exact same time to kill as the Palindrome, Grasp of Malak / Hawksaw, and sometimes the last word depending on your opponent's aim and skill with the last word and their RNG with it, depending on the range they're firing at you at. It's still a great weapon to pair with a shotgun and even a sniper rifle depending on the map. However, on your bigger maps where you might want the Thorn snipe, the Palindrome can do a better job for you due to its higher range stat and aim assist stat. The Palindrome, I believe, has about a 79 aim assist stat, whereas the Thorn only has a 50 flat aim assist. Now let's talk about accuracy. Thorn has always been one of those weapons that has some weird sights, and they do take a few games to get used to, so if you are trying out the weapon for the first time or after a long time from using it, make sure to give it a few games, as it does take a lot of time to actually start hitting consistent headshots or hitting people in general due to the weapon's recoil. The recoil is up and to the right, just so you know, and the sight style with its little like Thorn sights are a little weird too. So yeah, it just takes a few games to get used to, but once you do get used to it, you can melt people pretty consistently if you're within its ideal range. As far as perks you want to pick, your best choices are Accurize Ballistics and Send It, as it maxes out the range stat, enabling it to sometimes compete with Palindrome and those higher range hand cannons, but it won't compete all the way at Palindrome's maximum range. And this also gives it more aim assist due to its higher range stat, and you really want to max out your potential of hitting things, so go with range. My issue with this factor and many other weapons having this issue is that I shouldn't have to pick certain perks to make the weapon as effective as possible. I think the range stat should be a stationary max, or a stationary good place. This perk should be for playstyle differences. For example, you might want Send It as a more passive player, as you will be sitting back and shooting, whereas you might want Perfect Balance as a more aggressive player and want higher stability in close quarters battles. I don't think you should have to max out your range stat to make this weapon, or any other hand cannon for that matter, as effective as possible, even at closer ranges. If you don't do this, you're basically going to be shooting at almost the range of the last word with a slower rate of fire hand cannon. The only thing that makes the last word okay with that range is its rate of fire. So if you do that to another weapon that doesn't have the rate of fire, it basically destroys it. So that's why I don't think the range nerf from before is really warranted. The last thing I want to talk about, though, that entirely screws the gun and some class abilities over is Memory of Silmar, the artifact. If someone is wearing the Memory of Silmar, the time to kill for Thorn drastically goes up to a point that makes the gun basically useless, other than dealing out assists. Against someone with Memory of Silmar, your burn damage only does 1s instead of 2s. Now this may not sound like a big difference, but with Thorn, the damage over time is what always made this gun great, unique, cool, and useful in the first place, at least in terms of killing alone. This isn't really talking about denying recovery time / knowing where enemies are through walls. So I find it weird that you have an artifact that makes a gun and what made it cool not matter anymore, especially because it is a primary weapon. A gun type that you should be using more than any other gun type in the game. So why would you have an artifact that totally ruins that gun, especially because it is exotic? To me, it makes more sense for the artifact to only affect class abilities, if anything, which are stronger than Thorn's burn in the first place. Overall, Thorn, at least in a competitive sense, is a tier 2 weapon at best because its place of use is extremely situational in terms of the range you can battle at. But in the place it is good, it performs very well provided your enemy isn't using Memory of Silmar. Personally, I think they need to put the range stat back to where it was before this most recent nerf, so it can actually feel like an exotic past a very strict damage fall off of longer than between short and medium range engagements. I would like it to fall off more at medium ranges. It definitely shouldn't be hitting like long range headshots or long range damage, but you know, let the damage fall off at medium ranges. It is an exotic. It should be better, or at its worst equal to than legendaries, at least in some ways. An exotic, in my opinion, should never be worse than a legendary. It should always have something that makes it a little bit better, a little bit stronger. For example, Thorn's burn, and if you nerf the range stat that kind of made that burn effective in the first place, at least before this most recent nerf, it basically just makes it a shittier palindrome in the best cases possible. So that's my little thoughts on Thorn. Definitely doesn't suck if you're using it where Bungie thinks it's supposed to be used. I just think it could be buffed a little bit more. Despite the hate that this gun has gotten in the past, it's still my favorite gun and I love it dearly, but I just want my Thorn back where I can use it at least at the same range as a palindrome, and at least have an effective battle with someone using that weapon. But normally, if you're using it out of its effective range, you're going to get just like trashed on by AS Lunas and palindromes, and it's not fun, you know. The gun is cool. I love the way it sounds. It's probably one of the more unique guns in Destiny. I would really love to see it come back in at least a little way. I think a lot of things in Destiny need some little buffs, especially primaries, but those are my thoughts. Feel free to leave your thoughts on Thorn in the comments below, whether you think it's fine, whether you think it needs to be buffed, all that kind of stuff. But as always, I was the Wiggling Wolf, and I'll see you guys in the next video.
Gained the lead.